nose, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though.
PSGL, George Morgan here and Jack Kinnett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
here we are. Welcome everyone, and a very, very good evening here on round 5. It's time for Hungary here at PSGL PCF4. 12 rounds in total, and tonight it's time for round 5. I'll be your host for tonight. My name is Mitsky, and as per usual, I'm joined by Max.
Hello again, everyone. We're back at it again, me and Myth, for what should be another fantastic race. Pleasure to be back here for another Thursday, and happy to be back alongside you, Myth. Of course, last time out, Justin became our first back-to-back winner. Can he make it a three-peat here in Hungary?
Well, it definitely helped him out a lot, because that means now, if we go to the standings real quick, championship leader, albeit by only 4 points. Justin's now leading it with 40 points with the 2 back-to-back wins, so win in Austria and a win in Spain. But Fox has done very, very well to keep that gap as small as possible with a second place last week out. He's only 4 points behind. Then for JST, it was a weekend to forget, and he rescinded his top spot in the championship standings to now a P3, 15 points behind. And then there's 2 people in the shared 4th place, Jeremy Gallané and Alexander Dimas, who are both 17 points behind our leader. But there's still quite a lot to play for here at PCL PCF4. But I think in the next week, 2 weeks, we're going to see a more clearer picture of which drivers are really going to be contesting for that championship. But I think for now it's fair to say Justin, Fox, and I think JST as well are definitely going to be in the mix. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I would say the same. Of course, those 3 are certainly in the picture. I mean, JST, the races that he's finished second twice, so he's on good form when he does finish the race. And then for Justin, of course, getting that back-to-back race victory, and then on the bounce, 2 thirds and then a second in Spain. Those 3 are certainly within the hunt for the Drivers' Championship. So yeah, I would say over this week and next week, round 5 and round 6, the halfway stage of the calendar, we are certainly going to see what drivers are certainly within a chance of winning the championship and who will come out on top. That's really, I would say next week is the definite point where we'll see a clearer picture and we'll know exactly who's in the fight, and we'll see who's maybe on the cusp, but definitely we'll know exactly who's in the fight, who we're going to be seeing fighting for that championship at the very top. And we might see a few maybe of the just on the cusp of things drivers who might just have a few consistent point scores that get him up into that championship contention by the end of the season. But we'll know at least definite top 8 in the championship who will be fighting for it after Japan, I feel like, next week.
Yeah, so indeed, next week Japan, in 2 weeks' time it will be Saudi. For me, unfortunately, in the next 2 outings I'll be missing as I will be on a holiday just to end off the summer. So hopefully someone else can stand in for me so we can still have a stream and bring you all the action here. PSGL PCF4. In the meantime, we are getting ready in the lobby. We currently have 15 people in the lobby. So I think a few more are still to join us. I'm not entirely sure who exactly we're waiting for. There were still quite a few drivers absent because they were on break. But I see our championship leader is here. Justin Atz is here. But I see Jeremy Gallané, but I don't see Fox, and I don't see JST either. I think we're missing quite a few people that could be contesting our championship leader. And let's be real, if Justin takes it away here, if he takes a win here in Hungary, he's going to put a serious gap between him and the other drivers.
He certainly is. I've just seen in the absence thread, both JST and Fox will be absent from this one, so it's not like they're late to joining the lobby. They are both absent and both, unfortunately, having to miss this race. And as you say, for Justin Ertz, that is a big opportunity to capitalize. If you're Justin, you have to at least get a podium to extend that gap as much as possible. This is a very, very big evening and something that could define the championship. Get a decent result around here. That's all he needs, is to score some big points, get that gap that he needs to the drivers behind, and that would certainly give him one grasp on the title if he's able to be consistent till the end of the season. But this could be a few crucial points lost for both Exafox and JSD. We're into the lobby now. We are now heading down the pit lane. First driver that is going to be out on the circuit, I think, is going to be, it is the Haas of Elias Saros, sorry. So the Haas driver going to be the first one out. Has a bit of a slide on corner exit. Of course, collisions are off still due to the slipstreaming. So Jeremy Gallinay now hits the front here around Hungary, who of course last time out in Spain, his pole streak came to an end. But can he make it 4 from 5 here this evening?
Yeah, so up until last week, he was our only pole sitter, getting poles in race 1, 2, and 3, as he almost bends it into the wall there, coming out of what I believe is turn 5. That was very, very, very tricky for him. Turn 4, actually, my apologies. Of course, this track only having 14 turns, quite a short track at 4.38 kilometers, and only one DRS detection zone, so that's something the drivers need to keep an eye on. That DRS, of course, being on the main straight, but 50% of this track is full throttle, and from the grid to turn 1 is a staggering 618 meters. So I think at the start of this race, we can definitely expect quite a few action to happen. Haven't seen what the drivers were able to do in F3, so I'm not entirely sure how we're going to come for pole laps, but we're going to go on board with Jeremy Gallinay and see if he can put in a great banker, as he's done so in the previous events as well.
Well, with that slide there at turn 4, he's putting a good heat cycle into those tyres as he exits out of turn 1 and now heading down into turn 2, braking about 75 meters, get it down to third gear, back on the power, use all the curb on corner exit, then flick it through turn 3, quite a narrow line through there for Jeremy Gallinay, up to the sector 1 split, 26.5. Through turn 4, we had that big slide last time around, showed no confidence loss at all, was very committed through there. Turn 5, easy to drop the rear on the traction, now into the 6 and 7 chicane, a bit slidey on the entrance to that chicane, took a bit too much outside curb, and now through 8 and 9, nicely done through there as you head through 10 and then into 11, flat out through there. Just use all the track you possibly can. Late braking into turn 12, it catches you by surprise on corner exit, easy to understeer off the road. You now enter into turn 13, agonizingly long corner, just waiting to pick up the power as you then head into turn 14, the final corner on the circuit, like 13, very long wait to pick up the power. A Saros with 13.4, Jeremy Gallinay a tenth slower. Same with Petard Beck. Everyone going a tenth slower than the other, but Lucas Besnaya, 13.273. I think by the end of this session, we could see a 1 minute 12.9 on the board. Where is your championship leader, Justin Ertz? He's coming to the line, only 6th fastest, just ahead of Jeremy Gallinay, 13.5, but we know he's not the strongest in qualifying.
No, we definitely know he's not the strongest. A driver who is quite strong at that is Emil Lundell, and he sets that fastest lap time for now, 19 thousandths quicker than Lucas Beisner was able to do before. In the meantime, Jens Fröhlich has just started his lap. Jay Kennedy finds himself in Sector 2, almost at the end of Sector 2, as he takes it through turn 11, and he's about a 10th down on what Emil Lundell was able to do in that second sector. So on for quite a good run is Jay Kennedy. 2 corners still to go. Has a tight line through turn 13. Swinging it in for 14. Make sure you get a lot of speed on the exit there. Not fully maximizing his split on the grid there. And he puts that car in P4 for the time being. So the only man still on a flyer was Jens Fröhlich. But he has invalidated. So that cuts off the times for at least your first run. We still have 13.5 minutes left on the clock. Drivers are now entering the pits. And to 3 drivers that haven't set a lap time, apart from Jan, that's Ivan Santamaria and Thomas Lang.
Yeah, unfortunately there for the 3 of those down at the bottom at the moment. Hungary really is a circuit where you need to get a lap in early. You need to get that confidence builder. It's a very technical circuit, so to have a delta to work with, something absolutely perfect to do. Even if they invalidate their laps and cross the line, you still get a delta. So that's what they need. Just something where it's not a stab in the dark, because Hungary, you can be either 2 seconds off the pace or right at the front. It is such a big difference. Just this circuit's so technical. It's got every type of corner on it: slow speed, medium speed, and high downforce corners. So It's all just going to be about getting those lap times on the boards, and you need to keep it clean. Very easy to invalidate around here. So if you're like Emil Lundell, Lucas Besnaya, and Sammy Simeone with those 13.2s, those could still hold strong come the end of qualifying. Ivan Santamaria is out on the circuit for his second attempt here this evening in his Red Bull. Not set a lap time so far, so let's see what he can do as he's about to exit out of turn 13, get the run up into turn 14, take a wide line to carry as much speed as possible down that main straight, gain a few hundredths of a second. That could be crucial on your lap time. So here we go then, with the Red Bull Racing driver, Ivan Santamaria, looking to that left-hand side, looking to pick out his braking point just as the curb starts, locks up the front right slightly, misses that apex by a few meters. That's going to cost him a tenth or two. Now heading down into turn 2, on that outside curb nicely, get the car flicked into 4th gear, run it all the way out wide, then into turn 3, not as much curb use there by like Jeremy Gadanaya we saw as he now heads up the hill into turn 4, down to 6th, a big slide. He took too much inside curb there. Big slide for Ivan Santamaria, and unfortunately that is another lap ruined. Just too committed, too early on the turn-in, and that has cost him absolutely dearly. And that's another lap where he can't get it on the board. And Hungary, they sage the Monaco without the walls, so qualifying is absolutely crucial around here.
Yeah, it didn't look like the best of laps for a pole sitter last time out in Spain. But I'm very, very amazed that he managed to save that car at the exit of turn 4. Seemed like he was going to put that in the wall, but he managed to get it straight. So well done for him on that end. As Thomas Lang puts up a great first sector with a 26.4. Shows as purple, but what I'm more interested in is that it's about a tenth and a half quicker than Jay Kennedy was able to do. So might be on course for a potential pole position here. He's a provisional pole position, that is. Now he is aiming for what I believe is a 54.4 in the second sector. Has been sliding quite a bit here, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to improve that much. It was 52.4, sorry, and it has indeed lost quite a few tenths. So the middle sector not being that great for Thomas Lang, but still going to be put in a decent banker. He's already run out of most of his energy, so I think it's going to come round at about a 13.6, 13.7. Although he does go quite fast in that final sector, at least final corner it was, but a 13.9, definitely not the lap that he was looking for. Piotr Dabek is also down on his lap time. Justin Arts, on the other hand, has purple in the middle sector, so let's see where he's going to come through in.
Yeah, here we are then with your back-to-back race winner and championship leader, Justin Ertz, as he's now coming up to the final corner. Elias Saros up into 5th place with a nice lap time there to put him into the 13.3s. Justin Ertz, what can he do? And he goes up into 4th place, also into the 1 minute 13s. 0.3s, very nicely done there from the RB driver. Lucas Besnaya comes into the pit lane. He's invalidated his lap. Emil Lundell down by 8 milliseconds in that first sector. Now heading through the 6 and 7 chicane. He's a driver where you really need to look out for in these qualifying sessions. Dimas puts themselves into the 13.3s as well. Look how many drivers are into the 1 minute 13.3s. There is an absolute abundance of them. Lundell still down on his previous lap time. Does he have time to find in this final sector, or has he done his best lap too early on? Let's see now. Heading through 13, he uses all the exit he possibly can, really pushing this car to the limit. Then through 14, that seemed quick. What's it going to be for Lundell? Is it an improvement? No, 8 milliseconds lost on his previous lap time, showing how well he did on that original lap. A 13.254 is still pole position for now. Jay Kennedy's on his lap. He's out of sync with everybody else. He's down in that first sector. Let's see what he can do, though, in the Mercedes. Can he snatch provisional pole away from Emil Lundell, who, of course, took pole position last time out? And he's looking for back-to-back poles, just like what Jeremy Gadanaya did in the opening 2 rounds. But Emil Lundell still with the upper hand on this pole position.
Yeah, and do keep in mind as well that that second lap time would still be enough for a provisional pole for the time being. Although Jay Kennedy now picking up a lot of speed in that middle sector. He's up by almost a tenth on his own lap time, and that should be about near enough to get that provisional pole position. But more crucially, it's a tenth and a half quicker than Emil Lundell was through that second sector. So if he keeps it clean, to that final corner, and it seems that he does. Is it enough for Jay Kennedy to snatch pole? It's just not enough. He misses out by 0.005 of a second, and I think we might be going lower into the 13s, but reaching those 12s is going to be extremely tough. Ivan Santamaria now then, he is on for a lap it seems. He's almost at the end of the first sector. Now what you're going for is a 26 about 4 as we have a yellow in 3. That's a Ferrari driver. Piotr Dabek is out. And Ivan Santamaria with a 26.5 is on for quite a decent run. Not as quick as Jay Kennedy in the middle and down the first sector, but still good enough to at least come close to that.
I don't know if Piotr Dabek's had a wheel failure or something there, because he's gone off in a really unusual location. I went on board with Jans Ferdek, who passed his car. It was entering turn 12, so really unusual there from Piotr Dabek. Unfortunately, going to be starting the best of 12th place. So now for Ivan Santamaria, he's heading into turn 12 and now up into turn 13. You climb back up the hill through 13 and 14, so it gives you a bit more traction on now. Out of 14, here comes Ivan Santamaria. What's this going to be for the Red Bull driver? Across the line, good enough for 10th place. And another driver into the 13.3s. That's 5 cars, all covered by less than a 1/10 of a second. That just shows how consistent these drivers really are. Jeremy Galanet, he's on the lap, of course. Took 3 out of 4 pole positions so far this season. He's only up by 0.5 in that middle sector, though. And across the line, he had a mega final sector. And again, that makes it 6 cars now into the 13.3s or 13.339. For Jeremy Galanet, who is just behind his teammate Justin Ayers, who is starting his lap. Sammy Simeone to the line, a 13.0. Sammy Simeone, take a bow. Could that be the pole position time everybody's looking for later on in this session, or has he done it early, just like we saw in Austria, where Jeremy Galanet took pole position with his second run of qualifying? Sammy Simeone might have just done the same thing here in his Alpine. A 13.03. Besnayan out of the line. Can he match it? No! 13.171. So close between this field. Justin Ayers is on the lap. What can our championship leader do? He's got a very messy middle sector, though, coming up for him as he went too deep into the 6 and 7 chicane, really pushing the limits of that V-carb.
Yeah, let's see. He has to be up here by at least a 10th or so, but he's actually down by a 10th, so I think it would be better to just abort this lap and save those tires for a little bit later on, because he's not going to improve by enough as he would like to. But yeah, before Sammy and Lucas set those lap times, as Justin indeed goes into the pit lane, the times from top 11 were just separated by about a 10th, as Isaac Lead now goes to P2 with a 13.135. So a lot of drivers are actually improving at the meantime. Marcel Paps is up by a 10.5. He could be coming close. Elias Sardos has also improved. He puts that Haas in P4 for now, but Marcel Paps might be able to steal that away if he keeps it clean through the final sector. Just one turn to go as we see a Ferrari ghosting out. That is Alexander Dimas. I think he might be on for a good run as well. He does not improve, at least for now. Here comes Marcel Paps. That's P7 for him. Does not beat his teammate, but again, a lower 113.3 is Dimas now on a hot lap. It looks like he has too little energy left to use, so he won't be going for a flyer. Flores Pansalter, though, he also very low on his energy, and Thomas Lang comes into the pit lane. So I think we've had our second and third runs now, and the drivers will be preparing for their final runs now, as we're looking to get a very exciting end to the qualifying session. So far, Sammy Simeone in the lead, a 1:13.030, a 10th quicker than anyone else. But if anyone's going to improve it now, we're diving into the 12s.
Yes, certainly. It seems that there's a lot more cloud cover now, means track's cooler, tyres will hold on for longer, so they won't overheat as much. And that seems to be the real key to finding this time in this session. Marcel Paps will know there's at least a 10th in that final corner. Had a huge slide on his last attempt, so that should promote him up onto that second row of the grid. We'll have to wait and see, though, how this qualifying session progresses. Can anyone get close to Sammy Simeone's lap time? Of course, last time out, of course, was his first race, new to the championship. He was originally meant to drive. Actually, no, sorry. He debuted in Austria. Has got 2 fourth places since then. So 2 races, 2 really decent point scores for him. 2 8-point finishes for him. So Simeone now looking for a pole position to add an extra point to that tally. And he has been strong in these races, has Simeone, so far this season that he has participated in. Especially Spain was unlucky to lose out on that podium from a late-breaking effort in that final lap, which saw him go off the road. But the first driver to be attempting to beat Sammy Simeone is going to be Thomas Lang in his McLaren. Needs to find nearly 7/10 of a second to even get anywhere close to beating that lap. So it's going to be a very, very difficult uphill battle for Thomas Lang to see if he can pull this one off.
Yeah, and just behind him, we find Lucas Beisner, so that's who we'll be keeping our eyes on for the time being, as he's currently in P3. In the meantime, in the chat, let us know who you think is going to get pole position. As Max also explained, getting pole position will grant you 1 point. That is new here in Season 37. I think a pretty good addition, makes qualifying just a little bit more interesting, and so far it has given Jeremy Gallonay 3 extra points to his tally. We're going to go on board with Lucas Beisner as he's about to start his lap time. He needs to improve by almost 1/10.5 in order to take provisional pole position. And this is his final run, so he needs to do it here, and he keeps it very tight in that first corner. We saw a lot of drivers go wide here, but we saw Lucas earlier on do a 16.2 in the first sector. If he can replicate that, he will be on for a very, very good lap and might come very close to that lap time by Sammy Simeone. Here we see him go, and he is indeed quicker, and he puts in a 26.2. Needs to keep this up as he's now going through turn 5. Good exit before putting it in through 6 and 7. The chicane, take a bit of curb there, does do that well. The car bounces just a bit, but not to put it out of balance. And through the sweeper, he does quite well. Takes a lot of curb there on the exit, which again is maximizing his space on the track. A lot of speed there through as well. Almost a 10th up now. This is a great run by Lucas Beisner, but he has been weakest so far in the final sector. If he can keep it close, if he can keep it together, he will be going for that provisional pole position. Just 1 corner to go. And Aston Martin in front of him ghosting out. But this could be very good for Lucas. But is it enough? It will be enough! He puts that car on provisional pole, and he's 11 thousandths up on Sammy Simeone.
Simeone invalidates Isaac Leet, invalidates Lundell up to 3rd. He will start on the 2nd row as it provisionally stands. Elias Saros only up by 4 thousandths in that middle sector. That won't be enough to even promote him up a place. So now heading into this final sector, crucial for the Haas man if he wants to at least reclaim that 2nd row of the grid. Simeone, Elite, Lundell all have done their laps. Their laps are over. Saros to the line. Where can he place his car? He did find some in that final sector, but it wasn't enough. AI's to the line, your championship leader. Good enough for 7th place. Marcel Paps down by a 10th in that middle sector. We know there's a 10th in the final corner as well, so he'll find a tad bit of time, maybe enough to bump him just in front of Aerts once again. To the line, here comes Marcel Paps. Where's this going to put him? He stays in 7th place. Jay Kennedy up the line. He's up by half a 10th. Doesn't find the time to beat Saros. Actually, matches Saros. Overall, Gallonay up to the line, 2.5 tenth improvement. Gallonay lost time in that final sector. It's looking like Besnaya, and it is Besnaya to take a pole position here this evening. Besnaya makes it 3 different pole sitters in the first 5 rounds, and it seems like Gallonay can't keep another pole position under his belt. But at the death, Besnaya, with a lap of all laps, he really dug deep for that one. And Simeone, pushing too much in that first sector, was 2 tenths down before he invalidated. Just wasn't able to keep the nerve, unlike Lucas Besnaya.
Yeah, and that puts him on the front row together with Sammy Simeone, only separated by 11 thousandths of a second. Then the gap a little bit bigger. Emil Lundell and Isaac Leet only separated by 1,000. Ellis Sars and Jay Kennedy, identical lap times on row 3. Then in P7, it's Jeremy Gallonay, followed by Justin Ertz, who is your championship leader. Then it's Marcel Paps, Alexander Dimas in P10, followed by Evan Santamaria, following Van Zelter, Thomas Lang, Jan Streulich, and Piotr Dabek in P15. So 15 drivers. Great quality with a last lap banger for Lucas Beisner, and we were watching him. We saw it was doing well. It's currently raining, but we have to get a lobby restart, and I believe the weather is dynamic, so I think quite a few drivers are going to be very, very pleased with that. Of course, this track, we do see quite a bit of rain here, but we might see some different conditions later down the line. We need a lobby restart, by the way, because we will need to turn off turn back on slipstreaming, I believe. Yeah, turn back on slipstream.
Yes.
Because during qualifying, that is a little bit too powerful, so we don't want that. And as soon as that is sorted, we will be able to go back in. So that gives us a little bit of time now to talk about what has all happened and what is still to happen. As yeah, for now, this was quite nice. We're going to have 35 laps of action out on the Hungaroring, and if the weather is going to be anything like the lobby that we have now, we're in for a great one.
Yes, it would be, because also the game has made the drivers start that one on slicks. So if we have something like that in the main race, then that could cause some drama on that opening lap. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it was a fantastic qualifying session. Besnaya with a lap of all laps at the death. But yeah, we're going to have to turn the collisions back on so the drivers can race each other will to will as aggressively as possible. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. Who will come out on top? Of course, Besnaya, probably one of the tracks where he needs to get pole the most. It is known as Monaco without the walls. Extremely difficult to overtake. So we'll have to wait and see. Can Besnaya hold on? Strategy will play a big part of this. We'll see what these drivers go for. Probably will be a hard, medium, medium, hard. That's what we've seen most of the time this season so far. So I'm expecting fireworks here this evening. And especially with your championship leader, Justin Ertz, further down the field, same with the likes of Jeremy Gallonay and Alexander Dimas, it's certainly going to be some drivers fighting their way through the field. But if we could get rain, that would also be very nice as well.
Yeah, and I mean, so far for Lucas, his run this season hadn't been that great. He had a DNF in week 1 in Silverstone. That was P11 on the streets of Miami. It was P9 in Austria, P8 last time out in Spain. But now a pole position, definitely the way that you want to get Hungary underway. And by the sound of it, this isn't even his track. So that really does show how well he has done in qualifying here. And yeah, I mean, if he could get a win here tonight, he's currently on 5 points. With a win, that will get 16. Will be bumped up to 21. And with Justin starting so far back, we might see the field being pushed up and bunched together quite a bit more. But what we do know about Justin, though, is that he is quite a bit better in racing than he is in qualifying. So if Justin is going to improve more and more throughout the race, he is going to pull a gap because, as we mentioned, drivers 2nd and 3rd in the standings, XFOC and JST, are today not available. So that means if he's going to score points, he's going to increase that championship lead almost regardless, unless Gallonay or Dimas wins the race, because then they will be in 2nd. But if that does not happen, then yeah, the gap will still remain to XFOX. The gap is now 4 points, but after this race could potentially be more. Max, what do you think our top 3 is going to be?
Oh, it's a very tricky one, of course, as you've mentioned about Justin Ertz being better in the race than he is in qualifying. Of course, both Austria and Spain came from outside the top 10 to win those Grand Prix. So I feel like Justin will get another podium. I feel he'll get a 3rd place. We're going to have a Sammy Simeone 2nd. And then I'm then going to go for... I'm going to go for Emil Lundell to win this one. I feel like Lucas Besnaya, the luck this season so far hasn't been there for him. I don't think he'll be able to keep it off pole. I reckon he'll get a top 5, just not the race victory. But hopefully, for his sake, I am wrong. But yeah, we're about to get back underway into another lobby, and everyone's been put into their grid orders, so we should be in racing action soon. Dynamic weather, so the weather might change, we don't know yet. But yeah, I feel like it'll be Emil Lundell to take this one. What about you, Myth?
Yeah, well, I do agree with you. I hope that Lucas Beisner can keep it on the podium, but I think he's just going to fall outside that P4, P5, similar to what you thought. I think that it will be likely that we see Justin move up. I'm not sure if he's going to make a podium tonight. I do see Emil Lundell on the podium. Perhaps P2 for him, P3 for Sammy Simeone, and I think Alexander Dimas might surprise us tonight and take his first race win of the season, which would bode him well to put himself back in that championship fight after missing out on 2 races. So a big race for him tonight. Same goes for Jeremy Gallané, because this is the moment that you can gain on the drivers in 2nd and 3rd, and this is also the perfect opportunity for championship leader Justin Ayres to get a much bigger lead than the 4 points he currently has onto XFOX. And it looks to be as sunny as it can possibly be, so no rain whatsoever. The drivers will be very happy about that. And we're going to 5 laps in the dry, likely 1 stoppers. Drivers, I think most will be starting on the hards, but also here, undercut's very powerful, as we've seen in a real race as well, so you want to be on the same strategy as the other drivers. Stop 1 lap, maximum 2 laps later. You need to stay within that DRS strain, and then work your way up at the end of the race. So strategy is going to be key, but with the pit stops, you just need to make sure you don't do any weird strategies, no offset strategies, and you should be good to go to fight for a race win at the end.
Yeah, undercut is very powerful here this evening. It's just due to the amount of traction zones that there is around this circuit, and just how you're able to just get so much grip from those fresh tyres compared to the older ones. So yeah, undercut going to be super powerful, so expect drivers in 6th or 7th, a bit like what we saw Ivan Santa Maria try last time out in Spain. But this time it should be a lot more effective, just due to the nature of this circuit and how much grip those younger tyres do give you. So it's going to be about strategy. That is going to be the main thing here, so don't expect maybe stuff we've seen in likes of Spain, and we're going underway already, so take us away here, Myth.
Yeah, and with our lights now off, we see our driver starting a good start in the inside line for Sammy Simeone, who immediately starts to get into that slipstream of Lucas Beisner. We have Williams out on the grass, and round the outside comes Emil Lundell. Wants to try and make an overcut there, but he can't make that work just yet, and Lucas will stay in the lead for the time being. We see some more tussling, almost 3 men wide around P7.
Ooh.
As we see both of the V-cars making their way through there, and Justin has already made up a couple positions there. He's actually made up 2 positions, with Elias Saros losing out on 3-4 positions gained for Jans Verlick, and Alexander Dimas, the man who I thought was going to get the race win, currently in P15. Not going too great for him just yet.
No, Dimas going straight on at turn 2, I think taking avoiding action of some of the cars ahead, which has set him all the way back to the bottom of the pecking order behind his teammate Pator de Beck. So for Ferrari, at the minute, it's going absolutely horrid so far this evening. Sammy Simeone wasn't able to get past Lucas Besnaya, and it's a dream getaway for the McLaren off the second clear. Now it drops down to 3/10 as we enter this final sector, but he's got the track to himself in front of him, and he can just push on into that clear air. But of course, DRS will now be enabled after this first lap. This will allow Sammy Simeone to keep within touching distance of Lucas Besnaya. Is anyone going to go for a move into turn 1? Yes, there is. Jay Kennedy to the inside of Emil Lundell. This will be a really nicely worked move late on the brakes into turn 1. Now getting the run down to turn 2. Lundell doesn't fight it. He doesn't want to lose any more time, and he just sits behind Jay Kennedy. Still a long way to go in this one, but really well worked there from Kennedy. Pulled out late, caught Lundell by surprise, and that's moved himself up into the podium places on lap 2 of 35. And Sammy Simeone still roughly about half a second behind Besnaya.
Yeah, and judging by the tires, we're going to see quite some different strategies. 6 drivers are on the hards, the rest are on the mediums. The drivers on the hards tonight will be Isaac Leet, Jeremy Gallané, Ivan Santamaria, Thomas Lang, Alexander Dimas, and Piotr Dabek. So most of the drivers towards the back of the grid, as Elias Charles is losing a couple of positions. Now finds himself in P14, with Dimas also getting past him, and Piotr Dabek is not too far away either. Does Elias Charles have some damage here? It doesn't look like he has any damage, but round the outside we see Piotr Dabek. Is this going to be an amazing move down into turn 13? He will be on the inside for 14. Still round the outside is the Haas driver. They make contact. They make contact, but the cars are not damaged by the looks of it. Down the inside, though, comes Piotr Dabek. He is going to make a late lunge, and down the inside he goes. And this time, there will be no coming back for Elias Saros. He's been moved all the way down to the back of the grid. And Alexander Dimas, who was in P15 briefly, now finds himself in P12, but almost a second down on Ivan Santamaria. And further up ahead, Jay Kennedy is starting to really reel in Sammy Simeone and is putting up that fight for P2.
What on earth has happened to Elias Saros? In between that break, between qualifying and the race, he's just lost all his pace. Saros started 5th, now down to 15th, lost 10 places so in this Grand Prix, and it just seems he's got no pace. Either he didn't get his setup on in time, or there's a little bit of underlying damage that we don't know about to the car. We do not know. So for Saros, it's been a horrid opening 3 laps of this Grand Prix, using 10 laps in 10 positions in 3 laps. Absolutely dreadful start for Saros. He'll be looking to make his way back up through the order. Thomas Lang has dropped out a DRS from Alexander Dimas, so this DRS train now only heads down to 12th place. Is anyone going to make a move in this train? It doesn't seem so. Gallané going to sit behind Ertz for now. Isaac Lee is the highest of those hard compound tyre runners. He's currently sitting in 5th place behind Emil Lundell. Emil in a Mercedes sandwich. But Jay Kennedy looking very, very racy behind Sammy Simeone. Does look like he wants to get those moves made, but no one making moves up into turn 4, obviously, and into turn 5. As I say, this one will be a bit more of a procession from what we've seen so far this season, and mainly expect the top 2 to swap places. But at the moment, Simeone not able to keep with Besnaya as well, and the gap stays around half a second by the time they hit that main straight, lap after lap.
Yeah, it looks like the gap is now a little bit closer than it was on the previous laps. It was mostly about 5/10, although now at the start of the third sector, it's starting to pick up a bit with Jay Kennedy getting awfully close to Sammy Simeone. It looks like Sammy is a little bit slower around that final sector, although now within 4/10 of Lucas up ahead, might be able to go for a move here, although Jay really looking to get a move onto Sammy as well. Let's see what they do here on the main straight at the start of lap 5. Jay Kennedy really reeling in, is using a lot of ear as they're almost 3 men wide into turn 1. Lucas gives them enough space. There will be a little bit of contact between Jay and Sammy, but Sammy's still on the inside. Jay will have to go the long way around just to make sure he doesn't hit that McLaren up ahead. And with him staying inside... No, Jay is still on the inside! Jay is still on the inside, and now side by side they go into turn 4. This is not a turn where you can go through 2 men wide. They do go 2 men wide, and Jay goes off track briefly, but he does manage to make that overtake stick. They went side by side for 4 corners, and now in second place is Jay Kennedy. Can he, in turn, get closer to Sammy Simeone? But what I wanted to mention earlier on is that it looks like the preferred strategy for tonight will be starting on the mediums and then going onto the hards later, because it'll be very tough for those medium runners at the end of quite a long stint to still have the preferred tires over the hard compounds. They will have to play catch up, stopping later onto those mediums, so I don't think that's going to work out too well with how the season has progressed so far. But that means that definitely the drivers in the top 6, well, perhaps even more, really should be keeping an eye on. Top 8 so far within DRS range, as Florian has now been overtaken by Jan Sverlig, and here comes the Red Bull of Ivan Santamaria as well. And with them fighting oh so much, that opens a door for Alexander Dimas, who's gone past 1, is trying to get past 2. The Red Bull almost knocking him out, but Alexander Dimas has gone too and finds himself in P10. Great move by him. And now he's trying to hunt down Ivan Santamaria, who's really dropped back quite a bit behind Marcel Pabst.
Yeah, the top 8 really starting to break away here. Jay Kennedy all over the back of Lucas Besnaya. And this just shows how racy the Mercedes driver is. With Sammy Simeone, the gap did not drop below 0.3 of a second. One lap after Jay Kennedy gets past him, gap now 0.2 of a second and does go down to 1/10 by the time he hit turn 12. But that was a really nice opportunistic move by Dimas. Heading into turn 1, saw the gaps just open up and he was like, thank you very much. I shall take those places from you. But look at this. Lap 6 of 35. Besnaya already into the pit lane. A very unique strategy here. He thinks he can go to the end here on those hards. It'll be extremely difficult to do, but the undercut, so powerful. Have the gap over everybody else. Furlick retires from the session. Emil Lundell under pressure for Isaac Lee. Lee gets past the Aston Martin. So Simeone wants now in the Mercedes sandwich rather than the Aston Martin driver. But a very opportunistic strategy here from Besnaya. He's got to pray that the safety cars go his way, or he is not going to have any luck at all and will be at the back of the field before he knows it.
Yeah, very peculiar strategy coming out from Lucas Beisner. I really hope for him that he knows what he's doing, because stopping at the end of lap 6 is very early, especially as your race leader. Doing an offset strategy is perhaps not something you want, but because racing, especially the second stint, hasn't been working out too well for him in the previous races, perhaps he's thinking, okay, if I do something different, perhaps I will make that work and be able to get the race win as a result. As we see Jay Kennedy locking up a little bit into turn 13, but the drivers behind him can't really get all too close to him, with Emil Lundell, who's dropped down the order just a little bit. Isaac Leet now, his tires are going to be becoming more alive now as those mediums are about to give way, and Isaac might go for a move here onto Sammy Simeone. Down the inside he goes. Sammy Simeone gives him just enough space, will be pushed down to the outside a little bit. Side by side they go, but it looks like Isaac is already behind Sammy. Still stays around the outside. Can he make it stick around the outside? No, he has to concede here, and Emil Lundell won't be able to get past him either. So a move tried to be made there as Justin Ertz goes a little bit too wide, and he picks up the first penalty for this race. That is going to seriously hurt our championship leader, because if he gets that penalty now, he's dropped all the way down to P13 and will be without any points.
Yeah, that is really going to hurt Justin Ertz. That was due to a battle with Marcel Pabst. They made contact through turn 4 and he slid wide, but the RB driver is really starting to struggle. He's got no grip at all in that car. He's now dropped 7, nearly 8 tenths behind Marcel Pabst in the course of this middle sector. No confidence at the moment on those mediums. It does seem the hards are back to low at the moment. They do seem to be the tyre you want to be on. Jay Kennedy now enters into the pit lane. So let's see where Besnaya comes out in relation to Kennedy. What's the gap? There goes Isaac Leet on the inside of Sammy Simeone. And before we even hit the braking zone, Isaac Leet is through. Gallane's got to look to try and make his way by, and there's contact. Simeone gets hit by Lundell, Lundell by Gallane, and the story of the season continues. Gallane picks up some wing damage, and that is another race that could be ruined thanks to missing an end plate, especially around Hungary through some of these faster corners. That is going to pay dividends, and that is going to really hurt his pace and his tyres for the rest of this Grand Prix. But for Gallane, the bad luck continues when it comes to his nose cone, and he's lost another end plate this season. But Besnaya, 2.5 seconds clear of Kennedy. Let's see if he's able to keep that gap for the rest of the race.
Yeah, this is some flashbacks to round 2 Miami, where he also lost the front wing end plate, and that spiraled down to more and more damage as we saw Lundell have a little bit of a moment there. And is this car still okay? I did see some debris flying around, but I'm not sure who that was for.
He's lost his whole right side.
He has?
Oh. Yeah, he's lost his whole right side front wing pretty much, and he's into the pit lane. He had to there. He's got no front wing at all. Ertz into the pit lane. Simeone and Pabst into the pit lane as well. So we'll see where they come out compared to Besnaya and Kennedy. But yeah, Lundell, he has lost pretty much his whole right-hand side of front wing. He's not elected to change it here this evening, so we'll see how much time that affects him. But look at Besnaya, so far out in front over Kennedy and Samioni that so far the gap has stayed the same. It's 2.7 back to 2.6, and Besnaya can use that free air to his advantage. Further up in front of him is his teammate Thomas Lang, so if he catches up to that battling pack in front, at least his teammate will be the one in front and will surely let him by on that inverse strategy.
Yeah, and perhaps with these crazy strategies, with the pit stops coming in so early, that might help out the hard runners later towards the race, because the drivers that will then be on the hards really will be struggling on the tires, and the drivers that will then come out on the mediums will be having a slightly better lap, because we saw Lucas gain quite a bit on Thomas Lang after he came out of the pits. That gap was about 13.5 seconds. The gap went down till under 10 seconds, and now the last 2 laps it's slowly eating away, but only by 3 or 4 tenths, so not gaining as much as he was in previous laps. As we see Jay Kennedy, his gap to Lucas stays quite the same, about 2.67 or 8. But the drivers that I'm very impressed with at the moment are even Santa Maria and Alexander Dimas. They were towards the back of the grid at the early stages of the race, now find themselves in P3, P4, but with all the chaos that ensued in front of them, they had moved up like 5 or 6 positions in the race, and Emil Lundell decided to retire his car. I think that's because that front wing was not changed in the pit, and he realized that this is not going to be it for me, and with the last week, a good result for him. He's not going to score any points tonight, and that will make it very, very tough for him to mix himself in that championship fight. Perhaps after tonight, that is pretty much over for him. But further up ahead, we see Florian van Zelter still out on the mediums. He's now on 10-lap-old mediums, and Piotr Dabek really starting to reel him in. And also Lucas Beisner getting an awful lot closer to Thomas Lang, but I think that's because they're in a queue behind Florian.
Yeah, Florian is going to be holding these two up, and I feel like Lucas Besnara as well might have had a lap or two where he just recharged the battery, just sit back and manage those tyres slightly, but he's kept the gap between him and Jay Kennedy around about that 2.6, 2.5 second range. Pittard to back, getting past Florian van Zelter, and here comes Thomas Lang late on the brakes with that superior grip, able to get past Van Zelter as well. Florian going for a really long stint on these medium compounder tyres, not thinking to come in just yet, just trying to extend it as much as possible. 7.1 is now the gap between Besnara and Van Zelter, and that will just keep shrinking and shrinking as the race moves on. Jeremy Gallonay with that wing damage, really starting to struggle. It's just really been the story of his season. Miami picked up a bit of wing damage when he was fighting for what could have been a potential race victory. Austria got pole, and unfortunately, he didn't finish that race either. And then in Spain last time out, it made it 3 times back to back where he's fighting for a win, and it just doesn't work out his way. Of course, Spain
last time from the race lead, yeah. Right?
Yes, Spain was his fault on the 31st tour of 33 laps. Spun and dropped down to 7th place. That was all his fault. He went too wide through turn 8. And here comes Ivan Santamaria with a full front nose cone. And he goes to the inside and is able to get by. But the switch back here from Gallonay. This is a really nice run out the corner for the V-Carb. But with the DRS and the battery, Santamaria able to get up into 2nd place. And Florian van Zelter got back past Thomas Lang there, so I don't know if the McLaren made a mistake during all that squabbling, as Gallonay just having to sit behind Santa Maria. He's got Dimas all over the back of him now, of course, leads to level 1 points, but Gallonay has got nothing to defend with. He just cannot find any pace with that broken front wing.
Yeah, and a driver who we haven't watched too much yet, we'll bring now up on the screen, is Isaac Leet. He's been leading the race since the early pit stops from the other medium runners. He, of course, is out on the hards. He was the highest classified hard runner. He's 4 seconds clear of Ivan Santamaria. And if I look at the intervals, I don't think... I mean, he will obviously come behind Lucas Beisner about 7, 8, maybe even 9 seconds. but he is going to be on fresher tires and a compound that is lighter as well. So that is definitely going to help his bid in order to fight back. Florian now comes in. He's decided 12 laps is too much for those mediums. But I'm curious when Isaac decides to come in. I think after lap 20 you can only switch in those hards. Going for more than 13, 14 laps on the mediums I think will be too much. But for now those hards still seem to hold on quite nicely. And yeah, for the man that stopped quite early on, Lucas is now getting towards the back of his teammate Thomas Lang, who hasn't stopped yet. And he, with a pit stop, only 1.7 seconds away. So he's on for a very good run. I think if he wants to make a bid for a race win, tonight could be his night.
It certainly could be, but Jay Kennedy is starting to catch up behind. It's now 1.9 between the net top two after all the pit stops. Besnaya now getting closer to his McLaren teammate Thomas Lang, each corner by corner, gaining by about a tenth of a second. Now exiting out of turn 11 down into turn 12. He is within DRS range, and surely Thomas Lang will just let his teammate by at earliest convenience down that main straight as we now head up the hill once more into turn 14. 1.8 is the gap between Kennedy and Besnaya. DRS will be enabled though for the McLaren driver. Heading down that main straight, he's using that battery to get closer and closer to his teammate. I just don't think it'll be close enough to get the move done on this first time around. We'll have to get it done into turn 2. Surely Lang won't fight this one, and he'll just let his teammate slip to the inside line, which he does. And there goes Lucas Besnaya up into 6th place and starting to get past the drivers that haven't stopped yet off those hard compound tyres. That has allowed Jay Kennedy to get closer though to Besnaya, but he's hoping his teammate can do him a solid and just hold the Mercedes up for as long as possible, because of course Thomas Lang doesn't have to let by Jay Kennedy, but goes wide through turn 5. That is one moment of weakness that Jay Kennedy can pounce on if that happens again.
Yeah, Thomas really needs to make sure he stays within the DRS window, but he's almost starting to fall outside of it already. So he needs to keep up that pace, and he has fallen out of contention for it now. So he needs to make sure that he can keep Jay Kennedy behind for just a little bit longer, so he can gain time for his teammate, which might be crucial towards the end of the race. Further up ahead, actually, Isaac Lead has managed to increase his lead over Ivan Santamaria by over a second in just a few laps time, so that's great news. But look at that, Jay Kennedy is already so close. He's already side by side and has gotten past Thomas Lang without any issue. And yeah, that gap now to Lucas Beisner, 1.5 seconds. So where Lucas lost a couple of tens behind his teammate, Jay Kennedy doesn't lose time whatsoever. So he is starting to look very, very good here tonight, as he's doing beautifully. He's doing beautifully. And his hards are a little bit younger as well. 2 laps younger. His are 7 laps old. For Lucas, they're 9 laps old. And what I want to mention about the DRS zones, of course, there's only one detection point, but there's 2 DRS zones. There's one on the start-finish straight, and one, of course, after turn 1.
Yes, there is, and that is where, of course, Besnaya got his move done on his teammate, but Jay Kennedy is absolutely flying in his Mercedes at the moment. He really has so far this race just shown absolute incredible amount of pace in the opening and now this second stint of the Grand Prix. 7 tenths is now the gap. It was 1.5 when these two started. Lap 17 of 35. Kennedy flying on those hard compounded tyres. Simeone going to get past Lang, and so is Marcel Pabst as well. They both also don't lose too much time behind the second of the 2 McLarens, which for Besnaya really cost him, having to sit behind his teammate through turn 1, having to get the move done late on the brakes into turn number 2, which really cost him a chunk of time to the cars behind. Jay Kennedy with a big slide out of turn 2 as we now head up the hill into turn 4 once again. And Lucas Besnaya now catching up to Petar de Beck, which could help him here. But he has got no pace on that tyre at all. 2 laps younger, showing Kennedy the amount of grip between those 2 sets of tyres. just look how much closing speed Kennedy has through these corners. Unparalleled confidence on those tyres for Jay Kennedy. And for Lucas Besnaya, it's surely a matter of time until he falls down the order and has to relinquish the place to the Mercedes driver behind. 2 laps is all you need to get an amazing amount of grip compared to the driver in front of you. So if you're on the hards, you'll be taking this down and knowing box 2 laps later than the cars in front of you or behind, and you're surely going to have the pace when it gets to that cliff point. As here comes Kennedy to the inside of Besnaya now. This is for the net race lead, and look at how wide Besnaya has to go on those marbles. And Kennedy now takes the net race lead, and Besnaya now down to second. Was in the net race lead for so long, but just doesn't have the pace to combat that Mercedes drive.
No, he definitely does not have the pace there for him, sadly, as we see Sammy Simeone starting to get closer to Piotr Dabak, but with that gap still being about a second, I think he's going to struggle to stay within DRS window of first Piotr and then Lucas and Jay Kennedy, of course, your drivers in the net race lead, with Jay Kennedy leading and Lucas being second. Still further up ahead, Isaac is doing quite a good job at keeping the gap to Jay Kennedy till about 11 seconds. And with the drivers behind not gaining too much, after a pit stop, I think he's going to come out about 7 or 8 seconds. And yeah, with those mediums, I think especially early on, he'll gain at least a second per lap. And if he can get close enough early on, then he might be able to contest them for a race win down the line, because if he makes a pit stop now, I think he's going to come out just behind Elias Saros, at least around that area. And if he's not held up too much, that could work out wonders for him. For Ivan Santamaria, Alexander Dimas, they are behind a little bit too far, as we see Sammy Simeone go very wide into turn 1. But it's not enough for Marcel Paps to go by just yet. And the dark horse, like I mentioned, we will be watching tonight, your current net race leader, Isaac Lead, who, after he takes his pit stop, will be a serious contender for that race lead.
Yeah, he certainly will. Isaac Lee on that inverse strategy, still pushing on. And those hard tyres aren't really harming him too much here this evening. Sammy Simeone now all over the back of Petard Beck, and he really is struggling to get by that Ferrari through this middle sector, costing him an abundance of time. Lucas Besnaya has dropped out of DRS range from Jay Kennedy in front. So if Simeone and Pabst can now catch up to that McLaren in front, it is game on for those net podium places as it currently stands. Yellow flag in the second sector. That's Elias Saros, who has made a mistake. There goes the Beck wide. That can allow Simeone to get a little sniff of an opportunity. Not at that moment in time. Now will be DRS open. Heading down that main straight. Here comes Simeone. Here comes Pabst as well. Surely going to get past the Ferrari. It'll be late on the brakes there from the Haas. Nearly into the back of the Alpine. Really had to slam on the anchors to make sure he doesn't get go into the back of Simeone. And there we go. Simeone and Pabst now have that clear road to now attack Lucas Besnaya, who is starting to struggle on those 13 lap old mediums, and Kennedy starting to break away and catch that trio of cars of Dimas, Santamaria and Gallanet. They're going to be a tough trio to navigate your way by, because they will not want to give up their positions, especially knowing how far off Isaac Leet they are.
Yeah, that is 100% true. And if we look further up the line, it looks like Jay Kennedy is starting to really eat away at that lead that Isaac Leet had, because that gap we talked about was a little over 11 seconds, is now down to 8.5. Well, about 9 actually, because he's still 9/10 away from Gallanet. But Gallanet, Santamaria, Dimas, they're all within a train of 1 hour. As Elias Saros picks up a time penalty as well for track limits. He likely will... I don't think he's going to finish the race. He's currently on the softs. But we have pit stops for the drivers up ahead. Jeremy Gallanet, Ivan Santamaria, and Piotr Dabak have come into the pits. And now I'm very curious where Jeremy Gallanet is going to come out. He does change his front wing, which will allow Ivan Santamaria to get by. But a wise decision from Gallanet. But where does Ivan come out? He comes out behind Florian. But is that gap big enough? The gap doesn't seem all too big, actually. So he might be able to fly by Florian quickly. And after that, he will have 8 seconds of clean air. But look at the gaps further up ahead. It's going to be very tough for Ivan to do anything about it. But the good news for Isaac Lead, because he still needs to take the pit stop. He was 7 seconds ahead of Ivan Santamaria, so he will come out a couple of seconds ahead of Floris van Zelter and will be in fresh air, after which he can first catch Justin and then Lucas Beisner, who's dropped down also behind Sammy and Marcel Paps, so it is not looking great for Lucas. And here we go, pit stop for your race leader. It's Isaac Lead coming in. He is going to end this race on the mediums. Alexander Dimas also coming in. Jay Kennedy now gets the full race lead because he was already leading it. Sammy Simeone second, but he's outside the DRS window of Jay Kennedy by quite a bit, 2.2 seconds. Marcel Paps is close to him. But here we go. Isaac Lead is going to come out ahead of Florian. As we mentioned before, we'll have a couple of seconds left. He will be hunting down Justin Ertz in a bit. And after that, the gap towards the race lead is not too massive. It will be a good 10 seconds that he needs to gain, but Isaac Lead could still bring this back.
Oh, he certainly can, and we could see the two Mercedes scrapping it out for victory in those final few laps of proceeding. Fleet is now push that tyre to the limit, then conserve slightly for the next 2 or 3 laps, then push once more until the end of the Grand Prix. It's going to be all about this stint here for Isaac Lead, all about how much he gains on the likes of Justin Ertz, Lucas Besnaya and Marcel Paps. We'll see how much of an inroads he can make on that top spot. Already a purple middle sector, showing how much grip he has compared to those cars in front of him. Ivan Santamaria gets past Florian van Zelter for 7th place there. Nicely done there for Alan wing during all of that. That's why he's come up behind Petard to Beck. So really unfortunate for Galanet as it stands. But now, heading down that main straight, gap is 2.2 between Leet and Justin Ertz. Ivan Santamaria picks up the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Gap to leader, 10.4. That's the main one you want to look out for. Heading into turn 2, I'll tell you what it is. So coming out of turn 1, it was 10.4. Heading up into turn 4, it's it's pretty much 10 seconds to the dot. Heading into turn 4 and now into turn 5. So much grip, so much pace here for Isaac Lee as Saros retires in the pit lane. Not happy with how his race is going. Unfortunately, for some reason, just did not have the same pace he did in qualifying. Galanet able to get past Petard to Beck. Now 9.7 as we exit out of turn 9 and now into turn 10 and 11. So Leet gaining about a second a lap, if not more, on Jay Kennedy. It's going to be super close coming into this Grand Prix because he certainly has the time to bring that gap down. The question is, will the tyres hold up for long enough for Isaac Leet to get close enough to his teammate? And look at this, all over the back of Justin Ertz. The grip difference is insane. The slide for Ertz costs him out the corner. As here comes Leet to the inside with the DRS. That's 1 picked off, 4 more to go.
Yeah, and he's gaining by over a second a lap, as you were mentioning. The gap towards the race leaders, what we'll be showing for the rest of the race is Jeremy Galanes. It's the fastest lap time with a 1:15.5, even making an overtake in that. As we see Alexander Dimas just get past Florian van Zelter, so Alexander Dimas will be trying to hunt down Ivan Santamaria, who in turn is trying to hunt down Justin Ertz. So I think for Ivan and Dimas, they're going to pick up some good points throughout this race. Although for Isaac Leet, he is on for a big hunt. He's now up to chase Lucas Beisner, who was your race leader for so long, who was your pole sitter, but he is just 2.7 seconds ahead of Isaac at the moment, who's already gained over a second in this lap alone, and still the final sector to go, where those tires are really going to give him that extra advantage. Look at the time coming down, 7.3. It will come down to 7-1 now, as perhaps even 7 dead as we come around the final corner. And it looks like he might be, he's already within 7 seconds now, 6.9, as he is now coming down. There's still 10 laps to go. He will be going for the overtake onto Lucas at the end of the final lap, the start of the next lap, I should say. And then it will be some clean air towards Paps, but also Sammy Simeone is starting to gain a little bit onto Jay Kennedy. That gap was over 2 seconds before. It's now 1.5, and with Marcel Paps being so close, if they work together, they might put themselves back into contention for a race win. But I think this is going to be a four-way fight between Jay Kennedy, Sammy Simeone, Marcel Paps, and Isaac Leet.
It certainly will be. Isaac Lee behind Lucas Besnaya, who's gone deep into the 6 and 7 chicane. Just watch. Watch this speed out of turn 9 compared to the McLaren. So much time found. He gained about 2 tenths there through turns 8 and 9. Through turn 11, so much more grip as well. And then into the braking zone of turn 12. Can brake so much later with those medium compounder tyres. And he's now 3 tenths behind as we head into turns 13, which will then finally be 14. The overspeed that Leet will have behind the McLaren will just be enough to just breeze by before we even get to the end of the pit straight. And there we go. Leet passes Lucas Besnaya. Sammy Simeone now 1.4, back up to 1.5. Now back down to 1.4, maybe even 1.3 by the end of this straight into turn 2. So he is finding time on Kennedy. Has Kennedy burnt those tyres out too quickly? But now all eyes turn to Isaac Lee. Gap to leader is 5 seconds. Now as we head up the hill into turn 4, it is going to be just, can Isaac Leet keep those tyres within the right window, not wear them out too much, and focus on getting those cars as quickly as he possibly can. It's going to be ridiculously close between that top 3 and Isaac Leet, if any of them can pull off a miracle on those hards and stay in front of that Mercedes. Isaac Leet at a minute with the superior grip, 4.6 as we exit the middle sector. Probably drop down to about 4.2 by the time we exit out of the final corner. That's just how much grip he does have on those mediums, but still a long way to go in this race. Another 10 laps, so we'll have to wait and see. Can Kennedy hold on, or will it be Isaac's Leet's day to make it another race victory and then just a streak of back-to-back wins?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like Justin is going to keep that streak going, as we see Van Santa Maria and Alexander Dimas using a little bit of the DRS, not passing one another, but are starting to close in on the championship leader as well. That would demote him back on down to P8, and after a penalty will still stay ahead of Florian. But with Galladay charging down Florian, he might lose an extra spot, and we might see Justin finish either P8 or P9 at the end of the race and not really do well for his championship bid. On the other hand, Sammy going to pick up some beautiful points, and also Isaac Leet will be doing so well because that gap now 3.4 seconds to your race leader. But the real question is, how will those tires be at the end of the race? Will they be better than the hards up ahead, or will they struggle more? But I think the hards are starting to give way because Jay Kennedy has now lost an abundance of time with Sammy Simeone within your DRS window. This is starting to look like a real good four-man fight, but I think Isaac might be doing the best here. His stars are the best. They have the most life in them. With the time that he is gaining, I think he will be able to pull away enough before his mediums give way and cruise to race victory. Gap now 2.7 seconds to race leader Jay.
This inverse strategy could be absolutely crucial, and a strategy that gives Isaac Lee an amazing opportunity at his first race victory this season. I think his first point scoring opportunity of this season. Let me quickly check the standings. Isaac Leet, and I don't think he's actually on the standings. I can't see him at the moment, so it'll be his first opportunity at getting some points. Oh no, he has got a 6th and an 8th so far this season, so he can it'll still be some good points to his championship procedures. So then, heading into turn 12, Simeone getting closer as Galladay picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's now got his teammate Justin Hurts just in front of him, but that's going to make it a lot harder as Simeone leads within DRS of Marcel Paps. This is now a four-way fight for the lead. Simeone been getting closer and closer to Jay Kennedy. Is it going to be brutally ripped out his hands like we saw in Spain? Getting overtaken on that final lap, then going deep, didn't even give him on the podium. Marcel Paps in third place has just been sitting behind Sammy Simeone, conserving his tyres and being dragged along by the DRS. Isaac Leet now in fourth place, tried the opposite strategy. He went for the hards, then went to the mediums, and it's worked out absolutely crucially for him at this moment in time. So, as we exit out of turn 5 for the 29th time this evening, Isaac Leet is all over the back of the Haas of Marcel Paps. It is now a question of how quickly is he able to get by the top 3 in front. Will his tyres be able to hang on and get by him as quickly as he possibly wants to? It's 1.1 between him and Jay Kennedy as we head down into turn 12. The top 4 by the end of this lap will be separated by less than a second. You can see how much Isaac Lee is just pushing Marcel Paps through the corners. He is really using every ounce of that tyre to catch up to that top 3 and get by. First overtaking zone for Zamioni is now down into turn 1. He's going to pull to that inside line. He gets by the Mercedes of Jay Kennedy. Here comes Marcel Paps as well to put a car in between himself and Isaac Lee. Zamioni goes deep once again, just like Spain, going too late on the brakes, trying to make an overtaking move. Does keep the position though. Here comes Paps to the outside of Kennedy. Kennedy boxed in by the Alpine in front. Paps now to the inside for turn 3, all over the curb. Isn't able to get by. Isaac Leetlow looking to the inside this time around. That could have been an airplane crash. Heading up into turn 4. All that changes is the top 2. So Simeone ahead of Jay Kennedy. And now the Alpine needs to use this grip advantage that he has over the Mercedes to his advantage, because now he needs to pull away from the trio of cars behind. Kennedy ahead of Paps, ahead of Lee. That is your order from 2nd down to 4th.
Yeah, in the meantime, Lucas Beisner under severe pressure from Dimas and Santa Maria, who are going to make their way down to P5 and 6 for the remainder of this race. But Isaac Leet, we've been on board with him a little bit. We saw a beautiful three-way fight for the race lead, but Isaac needs to get by one of the drivers as soon as possible. He wasn't able to gain enough on Marcel Paps last time around, but needs to get by now, and he knows it. He's using that ERS as much as he can, but he comes closer. He comes very close and late braking, and there's contact. Isaac Leet gets a penalty, but because he brakes so late, Marcel Paps tries to brake even later, and he made contact with Jay Kennedy. There's definitely going to be an investigation into this, and with that penalty for Isaac, he now needs to gain even more onto Sammy, but he gets corner cutting. He gets a penalty. I'm not sure if that... He's definitely going to appeal for that to be removed. But that move, he knew he had to get past, but he was too far away to really send it past Marcel Paps. And now, I think this race might be decided behind closed doors between the stewards.
Yeah, Isaac Lee just got too ambitious there to get the move done on Marcel Paps. If there wasn't any contact between him and Marcel, he would have just went straight on into Jay Kennedy. So, what a horrid way for that to end. But Simeone, surely now, if he keeps that car on the road, will have this race victory in the bag. Isaac Lee, he was too desperate to get the move done. Saw the Alpine just driving off into the sunset and was like, I need to get the move done now. But just too late on the brakes. Nowhere for Marcel Paps to go. He had a Mercedes on the outside as well. 3 into 1 does not go. And unfortunately, Jay Kennedy paid the price. But he's still with these guys. He's still just a second off of Marcel Paps, sorry. So he still is within a chance of a podium. But Sammy Simeone now starting to struggle on those hards. Had a big twitch out of turn 2. That's allowed Isaac Lee to catch up to him. But if I was Isaac Lee, I would just take that 10-second time penalty on the chin, because that's how much you'll probably get if the stewards do find him guilty.
Yeah, that move definitely wasn't on for him, so I'm very curious to see what else is going to be decided. But it looks like he's now starting to struggle to get past Sammy Simeone, and because there's a cushion behind him, because he has those penalties added to his name, it's suddenly starting to look great for Sammy Simeone. Jay Kennedy's fallen out of contention. He is over a second away, but he will get promoted to at least provisional third after the penalties for Isaac. But for Marcel Paps, there's still a lot to fight for, and he knows that if he wants to get the race win here tonight, he needs to get past Isaac Lee. But here comes Isaac Lee down the inside as he overtakes Sammy Simeone. Of course, he has those penalties to his name, but can he pull away and get enough of a cushion for a couple of the penalties at least to settle, or is he not going to get that race win because of those penalties to his name? For Marcel Paps, though, this is starting to look good. He needs to get past Sammy. If he can do so, he might get your race win here tonight.
Yeah, this race is now all between Simeone and Pabst. We now exit out of turn 5 for the 33rd time this evening. We've got 2 more laps after this one to go. Isaac Lee, unfortunately, just really with those penalties, isn't going to be able to get away enough, because look at Simeone. He's not finding the time that he needs so far, is Isaac Lee, over that top 2. So over the second and third, sorry. So he's just not going to be even able to break away 3 seconds, I feel like, by the time this race ends. So now exiting out of the penultimate corner and into the final corner, it's Isaac Lee that leads the way from Simeone, and then Pabst. Is the Haas or the Alpine going to come out on top to secure their first wins of the season? And for Simeone, finally break onto that podium after 2 fourth places so far this season.
And in the meantime, we watch Alexander Dimas as he's getting oh so close. And they're 3 men wide going into turn 1. This is going to be contact. There is contact. And that is because the McLaren of Lucas Beisner was sending it down the inside. But here we go. Dimas is trying to come back on the inside for turn 2. There might be a little bit of contact here again with Beisner. They are still side by side, and Dimas has to concede here. Knows he can't get past Lucas, but Lucas on 27 lap old hards is still managing to fight off those 12 lap old mediums as Florian picks up a time penalty. Alexander Dimas really needs to make sure he can get by Lucas once again, because Ivan Santa Maria has cemented himself in P5 for a time being. They won't catch up with Jay Kennedy and the rest up ahead. But Sammy Simeone is starting to get back at Isaac Lee. He might be able to decide it on the track here as we're about to go into the final lap of your 35 laps round the Hungaroring. We go on board with Sammy Simeone. A little bit of a squabble for Isaac on the exit. And Sammy is close. Sammy is close. Down the inside he goes. Sammy Simeone takes the race lead on the final lap. Does break very late there, but there's not enough exit speed for Isaac Lee. Sammy Simeone has it. Needs to cover off the inside. Doesn't do so all too much. But Jay Kennedy, well, he's further away. Isaac Lee couldn't send it down the inside there. And Sammy Simeone finds himself in a race lead. He just needs to make sure he stays ahead for the remainder of this race. The DRS straight will not be too long. Sammy could pick up his first race win here in PSGL PCF4.
Yes, he certainly can, and that could have just been the race-winning move. He doesn't have to worry about stewards' inquiries if he's able to win this one on the road, and the race will not be decided behind closed doors. So Simeone, now with only a few more corners to go here. Austria finished 4th. Spain, after a heartbreaking final lap, finished 4th. This time, he's going to get on that roster, and he's going to do it the best way possible. Through turn 13 now, it is going to be a maiden race victory here in PSGL F4 for Sammy Simeone. What a drive, what a performance from the Alpine driver. 26 lap old hards in the end, fought his way through the pack and ended up coming out on top there in his Alpine, and in the best way possible, his first podium visit on the top step. And it's Marcel Paps who will finish 2nd and Jay Kennedy 3rd, but that is still all up to stewards' inquiries. Isaac Lee does eventually finish in 7th place, but for Sammy Simeone, take a bow after the heartbreak of Spain losing out on that podium. He gets the win here in Hungary, the perfect way to bounce back after that costly error on the final lap, to then get the overtake to get the race win the next week.
Yeah, and for the men that were in the top 5 of your championship standing, not been the greatest race. Dimas doing the best out of those, finishing in what I believe was a P5 after the penalties were applied. Might be P6 if Isaac managed to get at least that 10-second penalty rescinded. Yeah, he has indeed finished in P5. But what we do know, Sammy Simeone gets the race win from P2. Marcel Pabst is in second, given that none of the penalties from Isaac are, well, at least one penalty stays. Jay Kennedy's in third. Then it's Ivan Santamaria making his way up from 11th in the grid. Great work by him. Lucas Beisner, who started on pole, now in 6th place. Not the race that he would have wanted. Your championship leader in P8. Not the greatest work for him either. And same goes for Jeremy Gallonay. He finishes in P10. Only brings home 1 point to his name. So not going to close that gap to Justin Arts whatsoever. So the championship stays interesting despite drivers 2 and 3 in the standings not participating here tonight. And if they are back next week for Japan, they could make sure that Justin Ertz is going to have a tough second run of the season, because next week, at least after next week, we will see.
Yeah, Ertz really needed to capitalise there, but only scoring 3 points will not help his cause at all and only extend that gap over Exafox to a total of 7. So, big points missed there for Ertz. That's to make the championship a lot closer. And hopefully Exafox and SD will be back in Japan, and they will certainly take the fight to Justin Ertz in front. But massive congratulations to Sammy Simeone from 16 points up to 32. He now brings himself into championship contention, putting himself into 3rd place in the standings. Only, I would say about about 12 points. 12 points behind Justin Ertz heading into Japan. So Simeone, with a big championship push on his hands, of course, not finishing lower than 4th this season, showing consistency is key. And Justin Ertz doesn't have to just worry about the likes of SC, Exafox, Galanaya and Dimas. He now also needs to look out for Sammy Simeone in that Alpine.
Yeah, great result for him all through that together. And also Jay Kennedy, who's finished nicely here, will pick up some beautiful points and start to make his way up. He finished in P3. If that P3 stays, he moves from 9 to 19 points, which will move him up to 7th in the standings, equal points to Daniel Gottschalk, who was not here tonight. Dimas is going to pick up an extra few points, finishing in P5 for now, so 6 or 5 points of penalties get removed, so he moves from 23 to 29 points, so ahead of both Gallonay and JSD, but of course will be overtaken by Sammy Simeone. He moves to 32, but Justin Ertz, who picks up 4 points, will be on 44, so still stays ahead of Exafox, but that gap now doubled from 4 to 8 points. So that is still good news for him, but not the points haul that he was looking for tonight. And as next week we go to Suzuka in Japan, it is going to be really close. But yeah, like we said, we're coming around the halfway mark. We're going to see the fight for a championship going to narrow down. It's going to narrow down. But what it really has done, it's put Sammy Simeone in the fight. I mean, Daniel Gottschalk, he was absent, so of course he won't gain. Lewis Walker wasn't going to gain because he wasn't there. But yeah, Gallonay starting to struggle a little bit. Exafox GST wasn't there. Dimas doing very well from, well, dropping down all the way down the order at the start of the race. I think if he hadn't dropped down there, he would have been up for a podium fight as well. So I think Dimas is still in that fight. But I think with this now, we are likely going to see 6 or 7 drivers still realistically being into contention after 5 rounds of the 12. But yeah, for Justin, it's starting to become more and more difficult for him because competition is fierce and he needs to put up consecutive and consistent podium finishes if he wants to get that title this season.
Yeah, he certainly does. He needs to really push on in this later part of the season does Justin Ertz, because he does have some fierce competition behind, especially in the likes of that top 5 we see so far of Exafox, SD, Galanay, Dimas, but now also Simeone as well. And I mean, Lewis Walker participated in 1 race so far out of the 4. He's currently sitting in 7th in the standings. Of course, won that only race that he's done. So if he returns for the latter half of the season, he could be someone to look out for as well, because he, at the moment, has 100% win rates this season. So we'll have to wait and see if he does appear in any more races. But for Justin Ertz, it is now very much squeaky bum time, and he will have to just manage these next 6 races at the best of his ability, and try to pick up as many points as possible. But it's very fierce competition, especially with the likes of Exafox and SD not coming in this evening, and he's not picked up the points that he needed to pick up to just make this championship a bit easier for him.
No, but on the other hand, for us spectators, it does make the championship fight a whole lot more interesting. And with no drivers in the waiting room, that means that we're not going to get any interviews tonight. For me, next week, and also for round 7 in Saudi, which is in 2 weeks' time, fortunately won't be around as I'll be on holiday. So hopefully we do have a stand-in so that the races are going to be streamed. You will likely still be on the commentary box, Max, so I wish you the best of lucks in the next 2 weeks. And after that, for round 8 in Mexico, I will, of course, be back all the way throughout the end of this season, which this time will be round 12 in Brazil. And season finale in Brazil is always going to be epic. This was the race around the Hungary ring. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. And next week, it'll be time for Japan. It'll be Suzuka. See you all then.